white blood.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel being the founder, one of the pioneers in this metaphysical movement, and having so much white blood running through you? Considering that you say what you say, Doc, but you have been as successful as you have been with
Mm-hmm.
the bloodline that you have.
Yeah.
Do you give credit to that bloodline the same bloodline that you criticize, or do you feel as though that bloodline is irrelevant to all your accomplishments because you are an extremely accomplished metaphysical elder in the Black community? What's your thoughts on that, my brother?
Well, West Indies, where I come from, the West Indies, which my family is West Indian, they all mixed up. I'm talking about Chinese, Indian, black, white. It's actually a cornucopia
Okay.
and a mixture. That's where I come from.
Okay.
I looked at somebody asked me because I'm dealing with the blood right heirs now, which is going to be very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did the 23andMe, I found out it goes all the way back. I will go all the way back to what's his name, the pharaoh. That I have the blood of Ramesses II,
Okay. Okay.
because I know he had like 230 children.
Mm.
Same thing with what's his name, Genghis Khan.
230?
Yeah, 230 children. Yeah,
Shit. Wow.
yeah. So, and you know, we are migrants. We go back and forth, and so what you're looking at back and forth, and if you're dealing with lineages, my lineage, I remember I saw my aunt, and she was Tutsi,
Mm-hmm.
and my aunt was laying on a bed, and she was like 6 feet, 6'1", 6'2".
Mm-hmm.
And I remember walking. I was little, and I remember walking from her feet. It looked like it took me years just to get to where she was at her head, because she was so tall. Also, I have Fulani,
Mm-hmm.
in, but of course, I have also Portuguese or Portuguese,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the white part of me.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather was Indian.
Mm-hmm.
Was I think I showed everybody that too. Showed you his picture as well, and he as the a Indian who was from the Indian. I'm not talking about an Indian over here. I'm talking about an Indian in India.
Mm-hmm.
He's from that. He married my my grandmother, who was Portuguese.
Okay.
And that's where I get the light skin from, because he's dark skin. He's really deep dark
Right.
skin.
Right.
So
Okay.
I mean, I can't help where I come from, but I know my mother was staunch, hated that, because when a lot of the kids used to come, used to say, "Well, you got that good hair." My mother would go ape shit. What do you mean good hair? What's good and what's bad about the hair? Because you can't turn it white? What's that? What's that? So my mother was the one who was the activist. She was there. My father was the historian. He read the books. He got me into reading.
Ah.
My mother was the staunch. She was down with the Panthers,
Mm-hmm.
and she was down with Sonny Carson,
Mm-hmm.
with with supporting his thing, and Walter the Stewart. All these people were the ones that were fighting for the community.
Indeed.
So, well, like I was saying to you, man, my white skin, if they say I'm white, is because they don't know what light skinned niggas look like. I can show you some white, and that's what's pissed me off, because the NBA got a whole lot of light skinned white niggas, and these people are taking over. They do it. You see what's his name did at the slam dunk contest? That you can't have light skinned niggas doing that. Because after Michael Jordan, you're supposed to be only having black people playing. That's ridiculous. Y'all need to grow up.
Right.
Ridiculous.
Excellent. Let's get to a couple of questions before we get out of here, Doc. Once again, before we get out of here, we got you can support Doc on PayPal, Zelle, King Simon. Got some links going on in the chat. Doc has a website. He has a homeschool. He has a 1-800 number. I mean, it's all right there in the chat. I'm gonna have it in the description as well. His wife, Dr. Nalani, has a book also.
Oh
Can
yeah.
you tell the people about that real quick before we
Very
get
quick.
a couple questions from the
Very
people?
quick.
Yeah.
Mama Nalani had a rare form of cancer. I don't know if it was given to her or where it came up from, but she suddenly actually died in my arms. That's a story that was in the book, and I had to revive her. But because of the lifestyle she led, the doctor said that she had the infrastructure, the genetics, as well as uh, the cord, the blood, and the organ of a 23-year-old, and we're in our 70s. And so she was able to do what she did by going through all of what she did, the chemotherapy, dying and coming back. And that book is like a page turner about how she went through all of that. And it helps people who have been in that. And also, we're also talking about another product that we're dealing with that deals directly with the metabolic syndrome that causes obesity, high blood pressure, and all of those things. And if they want to, they can call her directly at 646-510-6702. And that's to deal with the unicity. And it's called a metabolic syndrome that's causing all of the diseases that we in the Black community are suffering from right now. So we're dealing with the Juice Plus, and we're dealing with both the unicity. And I think that you need to call her, especially if you're having problems with high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, all of the different things that they say are endemic and intrinsic to Black culture and Black community. So I would suggest you call her. And also, you can deal with it in the book, because in the book itself, there are ways for you um, uh, to access that as well. Thank you, King Simon, once again.
Indeed, yeah. Shout out to King Simon. Let's get to a question from the family. And before I move on, family, I'm serious about making sure you support this elder. I want us to be intentional about our words. Yeah, we take care of each other. We take care of our elders. This is the perfect opportunity. Don't just let it be a fancy slogan. Don't just let it be something that you just say just to say. And listen, our time down here is limited, family. A lot of us don't make it to 100. If we do, that's absolutely amazing. I would love to. I would love Doc to make it to 100, but we once our folks get up in there in age, we got to make sure we want to make life as comfortable as possible for them, especially if they put in the work. This brother right here has put in over 40 years of hardcore work for the community, metaphysical. Before it was cool, before this whole the term new age was invented, this brother was out here giving old age information. You know what I'm saying? Before the new age, he was giving old age information. Listen, his PayPal, kemitearth@gmail.com. His website, his school, his phone number. We're gonna have it all in the description. We have it on the screen right now. King Simon also has it in the chat. Please, family, make sure you support this elder right here who has been doing so much for us throughout the years. And let's get to a question. Shout out to Ascendant Infinite Goddess with the super chat. She says, "Peace, gods. Good to see you, Dr. Phil. I thought of you about 2 days ago, and here you are in all your brilliance." Question: what does your shirt say? I know it's something wild. Hey, before the show, I said the same thing. Doc, what your shirt say, Doc? Show
All right, okay. It says roses are red, Kamala's not black, Joe has dementia, and Hunter's on crack.
Doc, that ain't right. Come on, man. You know that ain't right, Doc. Why you had to wear that, man? Come on, man.
You know I got to broadcast any way I can. If I'm going to be a human billboard, I'm going to say the truth.
Come on. You threw shots at Hunter, man. Come on, man.
Yeah.
You got a Hunter, Kamala, and Doc,
all of them. The entire cult.
Oh man, let's get to the next one, man. Let's get to the next question. And I'm glad this person asked this because I just seen an article saying that Warren Buffett cashed out. This question says, why do you think Warren Buffett cashed out? The head of the stock exchange cashed out. The dollar is dead, y'all. It's not a question, it's a comment. but I heard he's like taking all his money out of a lot of places. What's going on, Doc?
Redistribution.
Okay.
He knows, he's a futurist. He knows where the money is going to be made.
Okay.
And so he's into Bitcoin. He's going into XRP. He bought up a crap load of XRP. He's getting ready to go into the new forms of technology, which is he's dealing with the electrical or EV type of technologies. He's also dealing with the food industry, because now they're consolidating the food industry to become more privatized, which is what Kamala and them are getting ready to do, because Bill Gates and I think it was Bill Gates as well as Zuckerberg and who else was that? The guy who did Amazon. What was his name? You know, or in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And of course, everything that is created is God. You too. So when they speak about the Spirit, you're talking about an aspect of the matter that you represent. And so when we speak about that, spirit now, I say, is time. Time is an element. Without it, nothing exists. And they're only now coming to that. We've been speaking of this 30 years. Time is an element, like fire, air, water, and earth. It is the cohesive element that creates what we see as third density, or even the other densities, because fourth density deals with another time signature. Fifth density deals with another time signature, which is based upon frequency and the spin orientation of the particle. This is all the stuff that your boy, what's his name, Terrence Howard, is trying to say. He ain't doing nothing. But you, me, Dr. Blair, Bobby Hemmett, he's now trying to tell everybody, here's what the solution is, and they try to shut him down, tell him he's a fool. Meanwhile, they push this asshole by the name of what's his name, Neil deGrasse or Neil the Ass Tyson, as the person who is the new Einstein that's teaching everybody. He's a fool. He is a clown. Last person you need to listen to.
Doc, so listen, so I don't know if you've seen it, but Terrence Howard did this epic interview with Billy Carson.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, he was he was on Billy Carson's channel. They did an interview together. I mean, there was over 12,000 people in the chat. It was a big deal.
Beautiful.
And I didn't know what level, Terrence is in Hollywood. I didn't know what level of consciousness he was going to go in on the platform. But he started talking about he was talking about how they're trying to block him.
Yeah.
And he was saying how they shouldn't be surprised because he has a 9 DNA sequence and every other race has a 6 DNA sequence.
Yeah.
And how the descendants of Africa is having, and we've all heard this before, but I didn't know he was going to go there on Billy's.
I didn't want to tell you that too. That I have a 9. I have a 9 with the first going into
I need you to elaborate on that because I didn't know he was going to go there. But talk to me about this whole, because I hear about the 9 ether versus the 6 ether, and I think Dr. York talked about that. But tell me about what he meant by he has a 9 DNA sequence in the other races outside of Africa. Yeah,
closer to the simian.
Talk to me.
Closer to the chimpanzee. We are not. Those are derivative qualities. Those are the derivative creations. Those are the ones that were experiments on the DNA. So I, along with others, the European man is trying to create technologies to bring him to a 12 DNA strand.
Okay.
Which is really him just giving you a higher form of his own, how do I say it, deformed self. Actually, if you're looking at the amount of DNA that we have that we're supposed to actually braid, to actually have our God self together, to breed, to access the frequencies, you have to deal with the amount of, what do you call it, what is the Jewish alphabet? The Jewish alphabet has how many figures? How many characters? How many characters does the Jewish alphabet have?
How many?
Okay. We're supposed to have 34 to 44 strands of DNA. everything that you see as far as the is more than 34. Let me see. Let me get it's. I'm trying to find out. Trying to remember how many of the DNA. I mean, how many of the 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 what is it? The Kabbalah and the Jewish letters that they hid the DNA information in. Um, that DNA strand, the strands that we have, what we call the junk DNA, is supposed to be threaded based upon our accessing higher levels through what we call consciousness accretion. Consciousness accretion is supposed to give you energy patterns directly from other consciousness as well as dimensional sequences to give you the necessary information to braid the junk into the necessary amount of braided DNA to bring you to the higher levels of consciousness. Some of us have already come back with that, as for your brother Terrence.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't say that because then I become a target. But then you have to understand that some have come back to teach people how to braid that necessary amount of DNA so that you can start picking up energy patterns from higher frequencies that would then download to feed your DNA patterns to braid the junk into the necessary helixes that would then give you that would ignite the lamp of God or Gad. Gad is Jewish for the head. It was actually the lamp of Gad that taketh away the sins of the world. The lamp that is the pineal that lights or illuminates the ignorance. And to do that, you have to raise Kundalini. But to raise Kundalini safely, you have to have a higher and more tensed, how do you say, tension or tension? And if you're looking at architecture and you're dealing with, setting up bridges, they set up tension or tensor wires. Well, the DNA has to become a tensor wiring in order to channel the amount of energy without burning you up, without destroying the nerve endings that would be necessary for you to raise that kundalini up. So most of what we see today, most of what we are not dealing with today, is the fact that I got drawn a blank for the amount, and I think the people out there, please research the amount of alphabetic letters or the alpha beta letters that constitute the Jewish calendar or the, what do you call it, the Kabbalah, and that's the amount of DNA. That's the amount of strands in the DNA that you need. Huh? my wife is trying to give me some. 22. I'm sorry, not 34. Thank you, darling. She's reading from me. Yeah, it's the 22 strands. I'm sorry, it's 22 strands. That's why 22 is such a powerful number.
Yeah,
11. So the 22 strands. The first 12, and then from there is the next 10 that has to bring up the 22 strands that are braided together, and from that point you begin to braid the original spiritual body begins to come and descend. In other words, the part of you that's your higher spiritual self begins to reacclimate to your body and lift you up and give you that knowledge.
Indeed. All right. Greetings, Dr. Valentine. Is Glint Pay still a legit investment? And is it any way you can convert it to physical gold?
Yes, you have to request the physical gold. What you have to do is you get in contact with Glint Pay, and they will then connect you directly to your website or to your account, and then you can purchase through the account. I'm connected directly to the account so that I purchase. What I do is I upload monies, fiat, to their site, and from there go over and purchase the gold so that my balance is based upon the movement of gold. So I have like, say if I have money that constitutes $2,500, and then gold suddenly goes up, I look into my balance and it's 2,800. That's because I put it into the gold site, and then the fluctuations of gold and its worth is supposed to go up to $5,000 an ounce very soon in order to compensate for what's getting ready to happen to the dollar. Yes, so what you do is you get up on glintpay.com, and you can request the gold to be sent directly to your door.
Wow. Right to the door.
Right to your door.
Excellent.
And I won't say anything else regarding that with me.
Indeed. We're going to do about 2 more questions, and then we're going to get out of here. Once again, shout out to King Simon. I can't stress enough all the links that Dr. Phil Valentine has. If you want to support him, his Zelle is important. You go Zelle the brother at Sanu777 at Gmail, PayPal, Commit Earth, his IG. You can see what he got going on IG. His websites as well as his contact number is on the screen now. King Simon, shout out to King Simon. He is also sharing it in the chat. All right. Let's get to 2 more questions before we get out of here. You know, and there was a I probably might save my question. I'm gonna see how it goes, because I got a question for Doc. I might save it for the next show. I might just do your questions tonight. But let's get to this next question. Can you reconstruct your DNA through change of lifestyle or environment?
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Your DNA that you're born with is not a prison sentence. It's not a sentence. Your mind is connected to the DNA, and the DNA is connected to your mind.
That's epigenetics, right?
Yes, epigenetics. They call it epigenetics,
Yeah.
but essentially it's nothing more than your body being in tune with mind. Mind over matter.
Yes.
And remember, when the body is in pain, or when the mind is in pain, forgive me, the body cries out. So your mind is everything. It is the controller. So what you do is you can actually, I tell people, my students, to set up a picture of a healthy DNA helix. And just as you would then in your religion, your faith, if you're dealing with Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, whatever, put that up there and you meditate on that. You're giving instructions through your brain, because your eyes are nothing more than extensions of your brain.
Indeed.
You're giving instructions to your brain to say and tell the brain that, listen, as the controller of the body, the governor of all that my body is about, at the infrastructural level, this is how I want my DNA to be, to act, and to connect with me. And that meditation of maintaining that visual is what the DNA in your cells begin to align with.
That's self-government right there.
There it is, to the highest level.
Shit. No, that's real.
Yeah.
I love that. Doc. All right. All right. Next question. I want to ask this question. Do you think the depopulation agenda, this is interesting, is coming from spiritual realm due to us falling short of our true stewardship of the earth?
Wow. Come on with it, brother. I love it.
I like that one, yo.
Mudi Mud, or you call yourself Mudi Mud. Excellent question.
I like that one.
Yeah, well, you have to remember who took over at this point. The depopulation agenda is essentially the earth itself giving instructions to these people to become what they really are. They can't hide behind the screen of their, so-called munificence. Everything is wonderful and beautiful, and we are here with freedom and justice for all. That's all a lie now. It's all bullshit. And what has to happen is the true demon behind all of that has to come to the surface. And as he comes to the surface, he becomes more brutal. And as he becomes more brutal, he becomes more of what it is that was festering like sewage at the basic consciousness of humanity. All of that has to erupt. The stink has to come out. It has to purge on the lawn for you to see that the grass is full of shit now. It wasn't. It was always underground trying to be kept down. So what we call a depopulation agenda is the European using technology as the excuse to isolate him from the consequence of actually accepting people. Because you got to remember, white people don't want to mix. And they know that we are the basic majority on the planet. So he needs to create conditions and circumstances where his isolation mentality has to be secured. To do that, you have to destroy all means that would then have you to interface. So what does he do? He creates a technology that no longer needs human participation. The more you see him advance, the less humanity, which is darker than he is, the less of humanity participates in what he is now envisioning as the future for humanity, but not all humanity. He's getting ready to put you into projects with that have 50 and 60 stories, and you're going to live in these isolated places. He's creating technologies like the electric car so he could shut it down at any time while you're on the road. He's created these electric cars with a chip in it so that you can't go past certain barriers in your neighborhood. So everything is about him isolating you from him. That's all this technology is about. Some of it, of course, has to do with some good, he's holding back on the med beds. He's holding back on the red tint glasses that help your DNA and your body to become stronger and healthier. And I suggest that you do get the red lamps and do red lamp therapy. He's preventing you from eating the proper foods. He's packaging crap for your children. He's trying to tell boys that they're actually girls and girls that they actually can be boys. Everything to make sure that his existence is not encroached upon, because that's who he is. He is essentially the white blood cell, the disease in the body. And I know that people are saying, well, that doesn't mean, yeah, well, you've been mixing with black folks for the last 150, 250 years. Yeah, some of us going to rub off on you. Look at what it is that you've done. Everything you see have you looked on television? Have you looked on the apps and seen these white children and Asian children from around the world dancing black? They dance black, they act black, they dress black. Black man, as a young man and as a boy, has been the employer, the cultural employer for the entire goddamn planet. But we don't make no money off of it. Because they control that. They control our talents. They control everything that we do so that we do not benefit from it, which is why they're trying to kill this boy, Maxwell Chikumbutsu. But good question. As far as depopulation, yeah. But you got to remember, too, that the reason why the white man is not populating and not creating and not doing what he does, because the spiritual energy is getting ready to kick his ass. It's doing it to the Japanese, too, because the Japanese participated in genocide. All who participated in genocide, they are going to be removed from the consciousness, from the human consciousness stream. So whites, the Asians that are Japanese, all of them are going to be removed. All of that particular genetic strain is going to be removed. You're not going to see too many of them. Or they're going to blend with the genetics. That's why they want blacks. That's why they all come to blacks. That's why black men can go overseas right now and they just love them. I don't care how you look. You can have some of the worst features that the women would never see you over here. You go over there. They can't wait to mate with you because they know exactly who you are, brother.
Doc, one last question before we get out of here. I'm gonna ask the question. You just talked about, we hear this concept of as above, so below. You talked about, these individuals committing these atrocities in our world, essentially being the white blood cells in our body. And we hear about the microbiome, and we hear about God being in the gut. And I hear about doc the idea of heart brain coherence and the heart connecting with the brain to create your reality. I want to know about the heart gut coherence, and that's something we don't hear about. Is, we got a heart, and we have this innate this feeling, this innate just this emotion about who we are and what we represent, this instinct about what we represent. And I want to know, how does that relate to our gut and our diet at that same time, doc? Because I hear about the heart brain, but I don't hear enough about the heart gut. So can you talk to me about what I would call heart gut coherence, Dr.
Well,
Valentine?
yeah. Again, heart, gut, you're talking around the areas of the liver, the kidneys. You're not just talking about the gut. In the gut, that has that crunches the components of life to distribute throughout the body. There is a direct set of glands called Pryor's glands
Mm-hmm.
that directly connects the large intestines and small intestines to the breast of the female. And when a woman is feeding her child, she's feeding the child from the biometrics of life that come directly from the gut. The gut itself has a brain. It's based in the foundation, the thinking of foundational principles. In other words, your rent, survival. What is it that's necessary also about life? Because this particular brain, when they talk about, this is the light, this is earth, this is life. No, there's four different light. This is the light brain, this is the life brain, and this is the form brain, and this is down here with the sexuals is the physical brain. So these are the different light frequencies that are fed and distributed based upon your melanin and the foods that you eat and so forth. The heart is not a pump, it's a regulator. That's why it's what was chosen by the ancient Kemites to be judged. Everything that you have from your colon and around this area, the form, remember down here is the form plane. The different planes, form, life plane, light plane. For down where the sexual organs are is the physical plane. Then again, the form plane. This is where everything is formed. Your idea about life, babies in the mother, and everything that you have as your opinion, especially the forming of your body and the forming of health and vitality, is all in this area.
Mm.
And so when you're dealing with the form plane versus the life plane, which is around the lungs and the heart, because they're connected directly to one another almost. The lungs and the heart are connected.
Mm-hmm.
And the lungs are the pump.
Mm-hmm.
The heart is the regulator.
Mm-hmm.
So it regulates and it changes the blood in accordance with your thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on how you think, people who have problems with their guts are based upon people who are worried about material gains, or the fact that they can't get their rent together, or their relationships are screwed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the heart conducts or is actually being influenced by the gut.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, this person who is suffering for or having a hard time dealing with their life purpose and being able to live comfortably and worrying about where the next rent comes from, this is why they start getting acid reflux and all of that in their system. And then that then affects the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happens? This is the area where your liver, which is the cleanser, the blood cleanser. The liver cleans the blood before it gets to the heart. But most people don't allow the liver to actually rest, which is what they need to do to sleep during the hours of 11 through 5. That's when the liver is actually doing its best to consolidate all the poisons and to be able to get rid of it through the kidneys and through the elimination organs, but to clean the blood before it gets to the heart. But it's not being allowed to, which is why you get high blood pressure. High
Mm.
blood pressure comes because the liver is the seat of anger, anxiety, fear with the kidneys connected with this anger. That also disrupts the function of the liver so that the liver cannot clean the blood before it gets to the heart. So the heart needs to race faster to get the poisons that the liver didn't clean past the heart so it doesn't damage it.
Mm.
Plus, you got to remember too that the heart is the seat of the soul, not the brain.
Mm. Mm.
It is the heart is at the sino-auricular node, they used to call it. The
Mm.
part that goes clear, boom. It gets that part when they try to get you to start, that's the place where the soul sits.
Mm. Wow. Doc, man, hey, there's a reason. There's a reason why you've been around for so long. Great way to bring Doc back on the show. He hasn't been on the show in such a long time. I want to thank everybody for their questions. I want to thank Doc for coming on tonight.
Thank you.
It's been an honor, as always, having you on the platform. And with that being said, once again, leave your contact info for the family so they can reach out to you, Dr. Valentine.
Okay, well, 800-847-1291. That's our public. 800-847-1291.
Mm.
My wife's number, for those of you who wish to get with and understand the metabolic syndrome that is causing all of our diseases,
Mm.
is 646-510-6702. Once again, 646-510-6702. You can call her for not only the unicity and the book as well, if you wanted to deal with it, because her book, you can go to newlifeneardeath.com. And those of you, I wanted to remind those of you who did not receive your package from her, make sure you call her because they've been slow to get the packages out, and a lot of people are not. I've been asking where are their packages. Call Dr. Nalani, and she'll fast track that to you as soon as possible. The other thing too, I do metaphysical consultations. I still do the how do I say it without getting you in trouble? Um,
Exemption.
yeah,
Exemption.
exemption forms. I
Exemption.
did exemption forms for those of the people who are living in those blue states that are, trying to force you to do A, B, and a third.
Mhm.
But like I said, before you think about, you know, dealing with Kamala, think about the mafia boss you want to deal with that's going to be able to help you to do what you need to do, and look at the history of both of them. I know they got something coming up. They got a
Debate.
coming up, and they're going to actually have people on there that's going to do everything they can to shut down the fact that she don't know what the hell she's talking about, that
Mm.
she's trying to tell you she's getting ready to run to be president to clean up the crap that she and Biden had created, which doesn't make any sense. If you're still in office, why don't you do it now?
Mm.
But again, that's me just looking at reason and logic and trying to impart that. But brother, once again, I thank you, as I thank brother brother King Simon.
So,
I just want to let you know that my son also is doing rehabilitation. Send some prayers out there for him, because of what they did to him. Waves that we see and the conductivity, what we talk about consciousness.
mm.
Consciousness essentially is the is water. If
Mm.
you understand, I can't explain it uh, down to the microbe, but I can give you an idea.
Mm.
Everything that you're breathing is water.
Mm.
Everything I keep telling you that the air you breathe is a form of qualified water.
Mm.
What you're looking at in your mind, you're looking through a lens that's filled with water. In other words, your eyes are actually a ball that contains water that's actually filtering through the spectrum to
Mm.
give you the sight that you are seeing right now.
Mm.
So everything is water. Water is the conveyor of consciousness. In fact, your brain is something like 83 to 85,
Right.
even up to 90% water.
Right.
So what you're looking at is this one drop of water now, the scientists have found, contains like something like 5 to 6 terabytes of information. if you want to break it down to dealing with computer language. But water is the medium through which the creator is represented as the mind. In other words, universal mind or cosmic mind, essentially. And when they talk about consciousness, the only way that consciousness can actually be conveyed is through a medium that can actually bear or at least carry the word or the intentions of the Most High into all of its creations. So, what we look at as water, and we see in its liquid sense, or if it's iced over to become hard, or it is dealing as a vapor, all of it is water.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't, but we only see another aspect of water. We only see the three aspects of water. We see it as ice, liquid, and
Okay.
gas, but
Yeah.
we don't see it as the gas that's another refined form of it, which we breathe, which we call oxygen. So when you're dealing with water, water then becomes what is called the divine neurotransmitter of consciousness. So it's actually the neurotransmission of Earth. It's the neurotransmitter of Earth. It's Earth's neurotransmitter. So when Earth essentially communicates through to other plants or to its animals, it's communicating through a medium of water.
Mm-hmm.
Breathing and communicating, the only way that sound can actually be conveyed as we're dealing with that, it can't be conveyed in a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that then? What is this medium here? This medium is another form of qualified water, which is what's vibrating. Where I'm vibrating from here to vibrate the sound wave patterns through the medium of the air, and you're picking it up basically through, an amplified form, which is your microphone.
Mm-hmm.
But the consciousness, when the presence of the Most High is to be everywhere at once,
Mm-hmm.
it's everywhere in the form of a qualified aspect of water.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
it's so simplified to say that water is, we use the word water and water. I bathe in water, I drink water, and we don't think about water in its divine
mm-hmm.
volume, its divine.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly. And I'm glad you mentioned the different states of water because I have an interesting question. You talked about water being a solid, you talked about water being a liquid, you talked about water being a gas. Those are three states of water.
Mhm.
There's so much research and there's so much information on the web now. And structured water is a hot topic right now in terms of
Right.
drinking water. So they're saying that structured water is the fourth state of water because within structured water, the cellular structure or molecular structure turns is the water is arranged in a crystalline form. So they're
Mhm.
saying structured water is the fourth state that is rarely talked about, but is now being talked about. So what do you think about that?
See, that's the thing now.
Mhm.
They're getting into metaphysics, and this is
Yes,
where they come into our realm.
yes,
And
yes.
what it is you're dealing with, they're pre-structuring it
Hmm.
to deal with the crystalline matrix of your blood.
Hmm.
In other words, your body, through your mind, you set up a vibratory pattern
Hmm.
that then begins to qualify the water into the very crystalline form that you see them structuring. You
Hmm.
structure the water into your body as you breathe in, and
Hmm.
when the breathing goes in, and right up here, there are these different holes, these different patterns that you have within your skull, that's
Hmm.
in your nasal, and as you breathe in, your consciousness is being qualified by how you are breathing in the water and qualifying it into the crystalline matrix based upon where your brain is. You see how close this is to your brain? Well,
Hmm.
what you're doing is as you're breathing it in, your thought process,
Hmm.
your attitude, your consciousness,
Hmm.
everything that you think about,
Hmm.
all of that is qualifying the air, which is water,
Hmm.
into the crystalline matrix that just fills out what your thoughts are about in you.
Hmm.
So what most people are not looking at is what the people today, science is now pre-qualifying the water for you.
Hmm.
Now that's not good in certain senses, but it's good when you want to use it in a therapeutic way.
Okay.
But
Okay.
what you want to do is now to become more conscious of your thoughts as you're breathing, which is why prana yoga is so powerful.
Hmm.
When you're dealing with prana yoga, you're dealing with adjusting your thinking patterns so that the crystalline matrix now feeds a positive energy the way that Dr. Emoto tells you that you specifically think a specific thought or you talk a specific way into the water and you put a particular word on the outside, and it changes the crystalline matrix to the consciousness that we created in
Mhm.
water. Like
Mhm.
I said, Akasha, the Akashic Records is water.
Water. Yeah, you said that. Yes.
And most people have never looked at it that way. And I've been trying to tell people that's what it is. It is the memory of all of our consciousness from tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. But then the great flood washed it away.
Mm.
And a whole new consciousness was formed, a
Mhm.
new crystalline consciousness based upon the particular area, the particular root race that came in to
Mhm.
fit the pattern after that flood.
Mhm.
So what you have to understand is as you're breathing in, everything that you're dealing with is becoming connected to the neurotransmitters in your brain. And
Mhm.
if you have a specific kind of aura
Mhm.
and you're breathing in,
Mhm.
you can qualify that organically. Or today, because of science, you
Mhm.
can use the science to pre-qualify. But I don't want, see, I got to know how they are actually programming the water to become what kind of crystalline matrix, because every thought is a template. Every thought is a sigil and is created based upon your organic thinking. What was the thinking process that put together the particular organic matrix of what they're serving to us now? I
Definitely.
don't know what that is. And until I do my own analysis of that, I would not take that water until I did my vetting because I don't trust these guys are coming at us. The
Mhm.
devil, the demons, those who are, in the deep state,
Mhm.
those people are very smart. And
Indeed.
you cannot take anything they're doing for granted.
Indeed. Indeed. Wow. Man. So I mean with water, I see you have on a shirt that has on the moon on it.
Mhm.
Now, I hear people talk about charging their water in the sun. What's the difference between charging your water in the sun and charging your water in the moon? How does
It
that affect the water?
one heats up, the other cools down.
Mm.
So when you're dealing with the sun, you're
Mhm.
charging up certain higher, more electrons.
Mhm.
You're causing a faster spin.
Mhm.
Now, if you have a particular programming for your water,
Mhm.
when you lay it out in the moon, it then solidifies around it. Okay, it becomes more because if you notice that the moon is a cold light, it's not hot.
Yes.
You see, you could step into the shadows outside of the moon, and the shadow would be warmer than in the moonlight.
Mhm.
So when
Mhm.
you put it into the moonlight, it's like freezing. It's like putting it into your freezer.
Freezing.
Whatever programming you're having there, it's setting it for you.
Mhm. Mhm. So earlier you mentioned yoga. My
Mhm.
question would be, I just had a thought. It made me think. You always talk about how the air is water. So
Mhm.
we're in traditional, we're used to when you say drink water, this is how you drink water.
Mhm.
So if I drink water like that and we're evolving and we're understanding who we are, if I meditate, is that another version of doing that? Because you're concentrating on the breath with meditation. So it's all about breathing with meditation. So is breathing the same thing as me drinking the water? It's just a different way of drinking water. Can we look at meditation as drinking water moving forward?
Well, it depends on if you're doing breath yoga, you're doing
Mhm.
prana yoga.
Well, meditation. Let's just say
Yeah, well,
meditation.
meditation, that
Let's
would
just say.
be Raja yoga.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So you're dealing with different types of or concentrations
Yeah.
of thought.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're dealing with the liquid, which is a denser form,
Mm-hmm.
then it's just simply you maintaining the avatar and giving the avatar what it needs. Like a car needs oil, it needs gas, it needs certain things, certain fluids, because you take it in every now and then when you want your car to be run smoothly. You have to deal with a fluid check. Okay, and the car is almost like the human body. The human body has certain different densities of fluids in it that they call humors. And these humors go all the way from child into all the different densities. I forgot what they were called, but you're not supposed to even talk about those anymore. But your blood is water and is child, and there's all these different densities of water that have become qualified to make your machinery run better. So if you're drinking it then you're dealing with another set of feeding that avatar. When you're breathing it, then there are subtle instruments in your body, more subtler instruments that are at work, that when you breathe in water, now you're qualifying it through, if you were to just look at your skull, you'll
Mm,
see you have, as your sinuses, they have little holes in there, the way that a flute has certain holes at certain places. So when you're breathing it in, you're qualifying it around your unique skull energy that you created, that you came in with, your consciousness, and you're breathing it in. And they've taken pictures of people who have been, say, mass murderers, and they've looked at their skulls to see if there's any kind of change or difference. And what people are not letting you look at, or not talking about, is the way that the sinuses are shaped and how they are formed. They all look alike, some look alike, but there's subtle differences in the
mm,
way that these particular parts of your body are focused. So that's why when they were when they were doing certain tests, they
mhm,
would go all the way up into the nose,
mm,
past that particular area there, and right behind that is your brain.
mm.
So when you breathe in, you're breathing right into your brain,
Well, when you okay, okay, okay.
right?
Mhm,
But there are different little stop gaps so that you don't get water all the way up in there.
mhm,
You see what I'm saying?
mhm,
But you're taking that energy, and then it's being qualified through the sinuses, and it's going into your brain to actually just be the record, the reverb or the echo of what you're thinking and who you are, your thoughts, and so forth. You're just recycling who you are and becoming more and more entrenched in what it is your thoughts are giving to you and what you're giving out as your thoughts.
indeed. You know what would probably be an interesting experiment I just do, Dr. Valentine. You know, Emoto talked about talking to the water. I wonder if Dr. Valentine, if imagine, you know how you cry. If we cry, say I have tears of joy, like my son just graduated from your university, and I'm so happy and proud that I'm crying tears of joy. And they store that water. Then if somebody in my family passed away and they stored that water, I want to know how
It would be
those
different.
waters would be
It would
extremely
be
different, right?
it would be
Yeah,
different. Yes,
yeah.
because it would come from two different places.
Hmm.
One would come from a place where the waters were tinctured by, say, endorphins or
Endorphin
certain
tests.
types of, certain types of energies that come that give you joy, that give you that happy feeling.
Hmm.
So contain. It was like it's like either you put vanilla in water or you put chocolate in water. You know,
Hmm.
you're going to get two different types or qualities of the same water,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
it would have been qualified by what was added to it, and that's why the emotions are so powerful. Your words and vibrations are so powerful, which
Hmm.
is why you qualify the waters in your own body to make you sick or well based upon the thought process you give to it.
Hmm.
And people who are depressed, people can actually make themselves sick
Hmm.
just by thinking a certain way and requalifying how that water is supposed to operate in your body to bring health. You can actually sabotage your own water supply if you want
Ooh, talk to him. Talk to him, Doc. People in the chat, they interested. They said tears of joy taste better. They said it.
to. But you see, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Tears are not good in certain
Yeah. Are
yeah,
you
because
serious?
it's a passion release. Right. If you were to look at tears,
Yeah.
especially people who are tortured, people who go through a lot in life are sad.
Hmm.
The one thing about people of colors, babies, that the European found when he went exploring in different places where black culture, high culture was that he never heard babies crying
Mm.
because our people knew that crying was another form of bleeding.
Mm. Ooh,
If you were to
wow.
take tears, especially tears of stress, and you were to do an investigation of its content, you will see all kinds of nutrients in there that
Mhm.
are being sacrificed by the body. When you have somebody who's been very weak, who's been very sad, and they had some real crying, do you see them come out really strong after that?
Mm.
No,
No.
they're very weak. That's
Mm.
because they've bled a whole
Wow.
other form
That's
of
deep.
bleeding.
That's
Yeah.
deep. That's deep.
Mhm. So your ancestors, the great ones, the ones they never did that. They never cried, and the one thing they also never did, in certain instances, was to smile because if you laugh, you become addicted. There's a nerve here that attaches directly to your heart, and when you laugh a lot, you're true smiling and true laughter that hits a nerve and it brings up your energy, but you can get addicted to it. That's why the priests were very stoic. That's why men were very stoic back in those days. You never saw men, you never saw the real warriors smiling and laughing and so forth.
Hold up,
They never did.
Doc, hold up. This is totally different from
Mhm.
what they teach us in this new age. Let's
Right.
say this law of attraction era where they say smile all the time for
Mhm.
positivity purposes to train your body to be positive. You
Right.
should practice smiling all the time. You're saying that's not good, smiling
No,
all the
because
time.
you
Wow.
create an
Oh,
addiction.
oh my God. Wow.
Well, what does the smiling do except release certain endorphins in your body or to cause you to deal with a certain release of chemistry,
Well, let me say this. All right, let me play devil's advocate. They
right?
say your genes are listening. Your genes
Mhm.
are like a genie. They call genes genie. So they're like, okay, what do we do now? How you tell them what to do is through your emotions. So if I'm smiling all day, Doc, the thought process would be I'm training my genes that things are good, things are happy, things are joyous. So this is how they're supposed to behave. So instead of the genes being in a depressed state, they act in a more open state. Does that make any sense?
Have you ever seen somebody who was at peace? The
Yes.
face, yeah,
They're not smiling.
they're not smiling, but there is something that you see that
That they're at peace. You can see it.
you can
Oh
see
shit.
it.
Nah,
Do we have to smile to show you
that's
that?
genius. No, they don't. They don't.
No, no,
They
they
don't
don't.
have to pretend. You just see it and you
You
feel it.
see it in them. You
Oh
see
shit.
they convey that
They convey,
because that's the
yes.
most powerful thing that we have. We are always in conflict. We're always at war with something within
Yeah.
ourselves or outside ourselves. But when somebody no longer is at that particular battlefield and they have withdrawn from the battle and there is this peace that have come over them, you can sense it. They
Mm,
convey that. It radiates. Peace radiates just like war.
it does. It
You
does. It
see?
does.
So
Wow.
when you have an energy, say you were saying something having to do, give me the example once again that you said that you had that you were that say you what was that example that you used just
Uh,
now?
oh shit, I don't forgot.
Well, the energy was that you had to smile. They keep telling you smile,
I
smile,
said yes. Say I was happy because my son graduated from your university,
right?
or I
Mhm.
was sad because a family member
Right.
died. Yeah,
But
yeah,
but when they're telling you, you say that all the new age people are telling you to smile.
yeah. Hmm.
Well, you have to understand that the smile is usually a reaction to something that you have felt.
Hmm.
Now, if you're doing it just to do it, what you're doing is you're clicking a certain energy in you that after a while it doesn't have the same effect.
Mm,
It's an overuse of something.
mm,
Smiling constantly always causes a trigger of specific hormones.
mm.
After you've saturated yourself with them, how can you tell the difference anymore? That's why the great ones were very stoic. They didn't show any emotions. They didn't just that they didn't have it. They're not suppressing it. It's just that they didn't want them to overcome that. And the one thing that men have is that ability. It's not that we're forced to do that. It is dependent upon who it is raising us, a woman or a man.
Mhm.
And that's what I used to happen with my children, for example. Even with my girl, my daughter, when she would fall down, and you ever have your son when they fall down and they do something, they always look at you for some kind of
Yes,
cue as to whether or
yes,
not you're
yes.
paying attention. Did I do wrong? Are you there for me? And so forth. And what
Mm,
I would do is when my son, our man was wild. So
mm.
when he would fall or he
Like
come
my
with,
son.
yeah, when he would come with some kind of bruise or he would fall, he'd look at me and he would get serious. And I'd look at him and say, "You all right?" And he would like, ready to cry or something. And I say, "Okay, brush it off. You'll be all right." I did not overreact to show
Yes.
him that that was his private thing. How you react to that keeps you cool because if you're starting to break out and tear up and then you've lost control.
Mm,
You notice the same thing that happens with women. When things get out of control, women cry. when things get out of control with men, men get angry.
Mm.
Have you ever noticed that?
Yes. No. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
because we were triggered to handle these kind of situations. And there's
Mm.
very few women who have that ability. They have to be actually super trained to be like that. But every time I feel that something is not right and something is going wrong, there is always, my wife is there to give me the other side, but I go right at that, I'm pissed.
Mm.
And when I get pissed, I get focused.
Mm.
You see, nothing else matters. But
Mm.
I know I'm drifting off of it, but what I'm saying is, um, when you're doing things that they're telling you in the new age, that's the Europeans' new age. Your new age was something completely different. If you go into the East, you will see that there are smiles, but there are smiles of accomplishment for, say, certain yogic exercises that you can actually come in and participate in because you've created the protective veneer of hormones that would help to counteract anything that becomes addictive to you. So the yoga is to prepare you so that you actually balance everything within you. They want you to just do one thing consistently, and then your body will always reject it. It will always cause some kind of disturbance in the quote force within you.
I want to real quick, Doc. I want to share your PayPal. Y'all know, if you're a frequent follower of the channel, you know that Doc was banned from Cash App. So if you would like to support Doc, his PayPal is on the screen. Like, this has been absolutely amazing so far. Y'all can't front. This is an amazing conversation. The back and forth we're having is amazing. So show some support. Hit Doc up. His PayPal, kemetearth@gmail.com, and I'll share the brothers there's other information we're going to share later on during the show. But for right now, to support Doc, make sure you hit up his PayPal if you appreciate this information. Water is a very important substance that we really don't know how to interact with it the way we should. So it's amazing. Doc, to continue, if water is so important, Doc, they're telling us 75-80% of our body is water. The baby is born in water, but when the baby comes out of the water into this world, I'm a newly formed father, so that's why I'm asking this question. I'm a little hype. The baby's born he's in water, for him or she is in water for 9 months or whatever. They come out of water. The first thing they say is, don't give the baby water for such and such amount of time. What? In my body's water, as an adult, I need all this water. The baby's born in water. Why, when the baby comes out, you tell me don't give the baby water for the first 9 months or whatever, Doc? I'm trying to understand that. Please talk
Well,
to me.
reason for that is because the mother is giving the form of qualified water necessary for that baby to grow in spurts over the
Mm.
next few weeks.
Mm. Okay.
Babies at that time, when we were in our higher stage, when they were born, they weren't born 9 and 10 and 12 pounds.
Mm.
Maybe when we were the giants, I could see it that way.
Mm.
But when you have a frail young woman who's carrying a 9 pound baby trying to press it through a small keyhole of, what do you call it, that stretches maybe a certain
Yeah.
amount, that's
Yeah.
not good.
Yeah.
So what happens is, the baby, they tell you not to give the baby anything because the baby's stomach is filled with the
Mm.
amniotic fluid,
Mm.
because the
Mm.
baby is a fish that just came out of water.
Mm.
So the stomach is chock full of the amniotic fluid, which essentially was what the baby was actually gulping.
Mm.
So after the baby may have a urination, and after the baby has its defecating, it's now ready for the mother's quality. See, it switched from that
Oh.
intravenous that was given through the umbilical, and now it's going to the mother. Now, a lot of times when they try to offer the breast to the baby, a lot of times the baby is trying to find the breast, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And what we tend to do, we meant to do, was to try to push the baby towards it from the outside, towards the breast.
Mm-hmm.
And when the baby keeps going towards your hand, it's like, here you are, you want to push the baby towards the breast, and you're pushing the back of the baby's head towards the breast, but the baby keeps doing this,
Mm.
not realizing that the wherever the touch is where the baby would go. So you have to touch it towards the inside where the breast is, so
Ooh.
that it will go towards the breast. So
Ooh.
these are some of the things you get to learn. After I delivered 4 babies, which
Mhm.
is it's you have to watch that miracle happen,
Yeah.
including my granddaughter,
Uh,
and
like,
the whole and my son. And so like an energy that you have to kind of get into, and then when you understand that the baby is now in the water of a higher frequency and is now condensed, because there's no such thing as creation. There's condensation.
okay.
And
You said that.
yeah, as I keep teaching
Yeah.
people, there's no such
Yeah.
thing as creation. Everything condenses from the all. It pre-exists and then condenses into the matrix that allows it to exist at this particular pressure level we call third density. So when the baby's coming from a whole other reality. That baby is condensing from a whole other reality, and now it has to kind of adjust its lens, its consciousness, its brain. Now it has some pre-programs in it. It has some programs it came with based upon its previous avatar. And then now what it does is, in this new reality, it has to adjust based upon you now. You and your wife are programming the child to the new reality, that this new avatar, but the child is actually older than you and your wife. And you will see that, because his reality is not today. His reality is about 10, 20 years from now. And you're just preparing him for something
Prepare
that
for
you are only going to be part of and he is going to be master of.
God,
And so
God,
you
God damn it, talk to But Doc, so let me ask you this one more baby question before we continue. So you know how they say to talk to the stomach when your queen is pregnant. Is that when you're talking to your queen's stomach? Is that because you're programming the waters, the embryonic fluid, and the waters is programming the baby? Is that how that works? I'm talking to the stomach. I'm programming the waters, the embryonic fluid, and when the fluid is programming the baby. Is that how that works?
no, your sound frequency as the father is already known, because your sperm actually was the
Okay.
resonating consciousness.
Yes,
So
sir.
now you've given a kind of um, signal,
Mm-hmm. Mm.
another volume, another quality of the same signal that opened up that Stargate that
Yes.
allowed it to come through. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, remember I keep telling him, I told people back in the 1980s that there was a nuclear explosion that takes place inside of the middle of the egg, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody laughed at me. But
Mm-hmm.
now they found out, yeah, science say, guess what happens? There is this huge spark that they don't know what happens. It completely clouds out the microscope and the what do you call it, scope, because they can't see anything
Mm-hmm.
after the explosion takes place, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's a zygote.
Mm.
Okay, that's when the condensation process begins, the formula for what that particular child is going to be, and boom. And you got to remember, we have killed off many messiahs over the last 30 years since 1972. Our women have aborted over 12 million babies. That's what I call the age of Herod, if you're for the Christians. Remember what Herod did. Herod went after the innocent children, the boys to kill off, and the girls to kill off the Messiah. So now I know I may have taken it to a dark place, but you have to understand how
Mm.
deep
Mm.
that womb is and why they attacked the black woman's womb.
Mm. Mm.
That's where the Messiah is supposed to come from. It ain't coming from all these other ethnicities.
Mm. Mm.
It's coming from her womb. That's why she's under attack. That's why she's made to look like Cardi B and the rest of these, playing that thought nonsense. You see, so you got to, she's twerking and doing all this